Hi folks, Period Woodworker here. I don't usually do videos on my bonsai trees, but this one is such an unusual one that I had to get some footage of this. This is probably the hardest tree that I've ever had to repot. It's early March 2021. This is a Green Mountain Boxwood. I bought it in the throwaway pile at a nursery 2 years ago, and I've nursed it back to health. It's coming back. I wired a lot of the branches last year and pulled them down as much as I could. This is a very stiff tree, hard to do. But what I was just coming in, this will be very short, but I just wanted to show you. I don't know how long this thing was in the tree. I know boxwoods usually have small surface roots, but I've already cut off the bottom 6 inches of all the dirt before I even tried it that came out of the barrel. And it was in a 3-gallon pot, and I cut off a little bit more than half of it. So now I'm trying to get the rest of it. But this is it is hard as a rock. I don't know if any of you have ever done a green mountain boxwood, but this one is tough. I'm having to put a hook down in it, try to find a way down into it to get it loose. I'm not going to be able to get all of the roots loose, and I'm certainly not going to try to bare root it, because with this tight, it would I'm sure it would probably kill it. It's ultimately going to be a pretty tree, I believe. I don't know how old it is. There's a close-up of the trunk, and after I get a little further along, I'll update you and maybe just show you what it looks like after I get it in a new pot. So, thank you. I'm still working on the Green Mountain Boxwood. I'm starting to make a little progress. I'm not going to be cutting away all these roots. These boxwoods typically have very fine roots, but I wanted you to see the bottom of it, where I cut the whole thing was probably a little bit more than this again, so about twice this. But it looks like the roots are radiating mostly out towards the outside, although I may be wrong. It looks like they're radiating everywhere. This is just smooth dirt, I guess, where I cut it. But I wanted to give you a look at the bottom of it. I'll check back. Okay, it's just about whipped me, but I think maybe I've got it to where I can at least repot it. This is probably, here's the size of my fork. So it's probably 10 inches across the bottom. This must be typical of boxwoods, because I found almost no big roots. I've got a few that are showing their head right there, and another one right there that I'll try to develop it, and a little bit, even a bigger one over here. But it is so tight that I'm afraid if I dig it much more, I'm going to hurt it. From the size of this trunk, it being a boxwood, and I've done other boxwoods, regular boxwoods and English boxwoods, but this is the only blue mountain boxwood I've ever done. And I think this one was suffering from that boxwood blight, but I think using some minerals and stuff like that, I've got most of that out of it. Why I decided to repot it this spring. On the bottom, as you'll see, it's all about the same. There is one little root. Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. That showed up, but there it is in there. That's a harder root. I may have cut through that when I used my Japanese saw and came across this, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can't find a pot that this will fit in. Put it in some good soil. I may actually go ahead and put in some, I think I'll use a lot of pumice and probably some akadama on this, and trees that are heavily stressed or that I cut back. My father taught me 50 years ago when I was a kid to throw some sphagnum moss in there, and that helps the roots grow. So I'll put some sphagnum moss in there. Once I get it in the pot or going in the pot, I'll be back. Well, here's one pot that I've got that certainly would get all of it in there, but I tell you, boxwoods grow so slowly that I think it would be forever that it would grow into that. So let me try another pot. Oh, I think that mica pot's probably the key. Okay, let me get it fixed up and we'll pot it. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready to do some potting. Here's the pot. It's ready. I got wires through it and the screens over it. Here's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use some a little bit of Kanuma right in the very bottom of the pot. These boxwoods really like acid, and this Kanuma is kind of known for that. It's more for Satsuki azaleas and really acid-loving plants. But I'm going to put a little bit of that inside of there. And then the other two things that I'm going to use, I'm not going to waste your time showing me mixing it, but this first thing is some Japanese Hyuga pumice. I'm going to use half pumice, and then here is 3/4 inch hard akadama. I'm going to use that, mix those two together. I probably will throw a little bit of I've got a little bit of bark mulch, and it just puts a little bit of live matter in the mix. I don't use a lot of that, but I'm going to mix these up and get this tree planted, and then I'll be back. Okay, the monster is potted. That was the hardest repot that I've had in several years for not that big a tree, but I like this Green Mountain Boxwood, but and I think it'll be a pretty tree. It's probably a 20-year-old tree now, and I'm not going to do a lot of styling on it right now. I'm going to just put it outside. It's like I say, it's mid-March. Things are starting to bud. I potted it maybe just a little too high, so I may have to wait until it kind of gets settled in there, and then come back and work on these hard roots in here again. So I'll keep you updated. Like I say, I don't do a lot of bonsais. I do more woodworking and stuff like that. But I thought you might find this interesting. Thank you for joining me, Period Woodworker. See you next time.